Hello, and welcome back to the Balance and Blissful Energies podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Hechavarria, and today I'm so happy to welcome Sharon Polski. Sharon is a women's health expert, GLP weight loss educator, podcast host, and author of Weight Loss Decoded, Unlocking the Truth About GLP Weight Loss Medications. With over 20 years of experience in health and behavioral change coaching, she has successfully guided more than 5,000 patients in achieving sustainable weight loss through science-backed strategies that integrate nutrition, movement, coaching, and when appropriate and medically necessary, also medication. Sharon is passionate about empowering individuals to enhance their health, energy, and confidence while separating weight loss facts from fiction. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. So, I'm at that age.
I am as well.
And so, I'm interested in having women on my podcast who run their own businesses. On the one hand, that's something that you do. We share a similar background in that you have a very strong interest in nutrition and holistic health. And I want to hear about your journey with how you've navigated your own, right? Like your own experience through the changes, through how our metabolism shifts, and how your advice has changed over the years with your clients.
It's fascinating that you brought it up this way, and I love that you did. First and foremost, our mothers, and I'm sure your mother was pretty similar. I'm 53 years old, and so my mom never talked about menopause. She suffered silently through it. And I think most of my contemporaries, their mothers suffered silently through it. And I think the reason that they did is because they were the first couple of generations of professional women, and they didn't want children or menopause or things like that to get in the way of their careers or them getting fired because they were going through these types of changes and it was affecting them so viscerally and it would affect their careers. And so I think that they didn't talk about it and they really pretended like it wasn't happening. Unfortunately, they never gave us the coping skills for it. And I wasn't really that aware of it. My mom struggled with her weight her whole life. So I dedicated my career to helping women get real information about weight loss and really work on the lifestyle intervention side of it. But the menopause side of it, I had no exposure to. So 3 years ago, I hit menopause literally almost on my 50th birthday. It was very crazy. And I was experiencing these really crazy changes, hot flashes, no sleep. I gained a tremendous amount of weight in a really short amount of time. My hair was falling out. I was like,
Right.
I laugh about it now because I'm like, is all my hair there? So it's so funny. I lost a tremendous amount of hair. My nails became brittle. My skin became paper thin. My mom never shared any of this with me. So I didn't even know who to go to. So I said to myself, I think it's really important that I start talking about this so other women know that they're not alone. And so it's funny because my career really took off because I did that. And so in the last 3 years, I now have hosted 3 podcasts, 2 of which are my own. I wrote a book. One of my weight loss podcasts is 18 episodes. I've worked with 5,000 patients. So that's all because I was actually suffering and had no resources. And I was like, I'm not going to have other people go through this either. So I think that our generation is like the true matriarchal generation of sharing wisdom and information that happened back in ancient times. And so, when you look at ancient cultures, especially like your Native American cultures, the mothers really helped navigate their daughters and women through these changes in life, and we didn't. And so I think we're really going to be the true matriarchal generation that has access to technology that's going to guide the younger generations through these really difficult times that people didn't actually guide us through. And we had to rely on men to guide us through it. We were all going to male gynecologists to guide us through something that really our mothers should have done, but they weren't allowed to. And I don't blame my mom for that. But her career was really important to her. And careers were really fragile for my mom's generation. And so they worked in men's industries. And so I don't blame her for it, but now we're going to be the matriarchy that changes that.
Yeah, yeah, I wholeheartedly support that. Um, and it's true. Like my mother, she also, when she was going through the changes, she had put on weight. She was having a lot of stress in her life at the time, and we didn't really talk about it at all. Um, and my father is a by the way, my father is an obstetrician and gynecologist. So
No offense, Dad. I'm really sorry,
no
but
offense, absolutely not. But there is something about that held wisdom within the female lineage that we have lost, unfortunately, to some degree, not 100%, but to some degree, and we are recovering it now, and that's really beautiful. Um, and so one thing that I would like to explore, because, we talk about, okay, weight management, and it's definitely an important part of keeping health, like keeping the joints healthy, the cardiovascular system, etc. But there is also perhaps unrealistic expectations of what we should be looking like beyond 50. I just read an article on Substack, and I wish I had written the person's name down. But she was talking about how there are so many fake AI accounts on social media with
fake girlfriends.
influencers.
They're getting fake, men are getting fake AI girlfriends and not
Yeah,
knowing they're AI. It's
they're completely,
crazy.
and they have, they're in their 50s and they have white hair, whatever. They look perfect physically, and they're selling, whatever products, saying take
It's
this
usually
and you can look like
supplements.
me, supplements. Yeah. And then, but they're not real. They're completely not real. And so we're living in this, this fake world.
Well, I'm going to tell you a really funny story.
Yeah.
I started using ChatGPT to help me with my social media because, when you work with patients, you don't have a lot of time to do that kind of stuff. And it's hard to find social media managers today. And so I started using, and my book cover is me. Like it's me. It's me
Uh-huh.
on the book cover. And
Uh-huh.
I would put the actual book cover into ChatGPT and it would make me a 35-year-old woman. It would change my picture, it would change my face, it would change my features to make them all softer and less hard and less 50. And I go, well, it loses all my credibility that I've been doing this for more than 20 years and coached more than
Yeah.
5,000
Yeah.
patients
Yeah.
if I look like I'm 25 years old. And it was so fascinating to me. It does it every time I put it in. It doesn't just do it. So, we have to look at the way AI is uh, even trained. It's
Uh-huh.
25-year-old men training AI. So of course, every woman is going to be like, I did another one. I said, give me a photo of a 50-year-old woman and her hair was gray and her body and her face was 40 or 30. And so AI is trained by young men.
Yeah. Oh, it's so crazy. So let's talk about some holistic approaches, though, that we can go into. Let's say, going by age, because we already start feeling that shift when we hit our 40s, right? Like the metabolism slows down. It takes a lot more effort to maintain a particular weight. I remember I was going to the gym more often, and it felt like I
We have
was
more
going in
energy to go to the
reverse.
gym more often,
Yeah,
frankly.
but even though I was doing more, it felt like I was doing less. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So I think that there's like a missed opportunity for most of us. There are metabolic shifts that happen much earlier on. So when we go from 20 to 30 is our first metabolic shift where I could eat French fries every day of the week and then diet for 2 days before my date over the weekend, which by the way goes back to what you were just saying that we felt like we needed to look a certain way to go on a date.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I understand the hypocrisy in the statement, but I'm still going to go back to my example. So I would eat French fries Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then not eat French fries for 2 days and be tiny and fit in a dress for my date on Saturday or Sunday. And so when we went from our 20s to the 30s, that didn't work anymore.
Hmm.
That was the first missed opportunity for us to learn about our bodies. And then when we went from 30 to 40 is the next missed opportunity. So when you get to menopause, which is 40 to 50, we missed the previous two opportunities to learn. And so we'd already gained a little bit of weight in our 20s. Then we gained a little bit of weight in our 30s. We gained a little bit of weight in our 40s. And now we hit 50, and there's a shift that happens from 40 to 50 where the body fat is in our legs and it moved up into our bellies.
Mhm.
And that's your visceral body fat that's really dangerous. That's your heart disease, type 2 diabetes, non alcoholic fatty liver disease, cancer, dementia. I mean, I don't want to scare people, but that visceral body fat is really dangerous. And that shift is between 40s and 50s. It goes from our legs to our bellies. And so subcutaneous fat, not as dangerous, but visceral fat, very dangerous. So, but we missed the first two opportunities because I think for 20 to 30, it made us look curvier. And so it
Mhm.
made us more, it was more the feminine archetype, right? And then once we hit 50 and now we just have this big belly and we have these little chicken legs, it like now it's not attractive to us. But there was a lesson to be learned earlier on. And to me, the lesson we missed, 20s and 30s, was sleep. And it's
Mm.
probably my most powerful lesson I teach everybody. Nobody teaches you how to sleep. When you're a child, everybody says, go to bed at 8 o'clock. They don't tell you how to fall asleep. They might tell you to count sheep, which actually does come from cognitive sleep therapy. So I kind of love it. But they don't teach you how to fall asleep. They don't teach you how to stay asleep. Our young people today are on devices all day long and all night. And so they really don't know how to fall asleep. And
Yeah.
so from 20 to 30, you are taught, well, you'll sleep when you're dead. So we're partying at night and we're still going to work at 5 a.m. the next morning, or we're
Mhm.
going to the gym. We'll party all night long, go to gym at 5 a.m. and then go to work, and we're losing sleep. Sleep is by far the most important thing for your body. It's important for recovery. It's important for disease management. It is important for joint and pain and total body wellness. So I will always say this. There's a great book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Everybody on the planet should read it. I've probably read it 10 times. And sleep is by far the most important thing for you to grow old gracefully. And we should have been taught it in our 20s, and we should have been taught it in our 30s, and we should have been taught it in our 40s. And then by the time we're 50 and we have hot flashes at night and sleep is very difficult, we don't have the sleep skills that we really should have created when we were younger. But it's not too late. There's cognitive sleep therapy, there's great books on sleep, but sleep is going to be the most important thing for long-term wellness and longevity.
Yeah, I completely echo that statement. There's I practice anthroposophic medicine, and that's one of the foundational things that Rudolf Steiner taught was about during sleep, and this is not like, anything super spiritual. It's very basic. This is when the vital body gets to regenerate, refresh everything that you've broken down during the day. Because during the day, when you're awake and you're conscious, that's actually a very catabolic activity. What is catabolism? It's breakdown, right? It's aging. So it's happening in your brain, it's happening all over your body, and it's happening also in this, like, what later becomes chronic inflammation and sclerosis, right? And then ultimately can lead to cancer,
And
or
dementia,
and
and
dementia,
dementia.
and dementia.
Like
That's
there's a
kind of like the new
great
thing, yeah.
Yeah, there's this great chapter in Why We Sleep talks about how the brain itself is actually washed while you sleep.
Yes.
The body will uh, it detox itself, but there's this whole thing where when you get into deep REM sleep, your brain is washed, and it's one of the leading ways to prevent dementia. And we're not doing. By the way, it's also free and it's delightful. Like when you
Yeah.
get an 8-hour night sleep, you're like, I feel so much better. So it's not
Yeah.
like going to the gym can be painful. Eating healthy can be painful. Sleep is delightful and it's free. So just go do it.
Yeah. 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 Well, the one thing that to just caution about is to become anxious about not sleeping, because that will keep you from
From
sleeping.
sleeping. Yeah,
So
it's like a hamster wheel.
it's a tough one, yeah. So if you are having trouble sleeping, seek some professional help, and like you said, it doesn't have to come from a bottle. It can come through some behavioral skills therapy. So,
Yeah, and I had insomnia and I went to the doctor for a prescription and he prescribed cognitive sleep therapy. I literally went to a sleep clinic and learned how to sleep. And I'm so thankful he didn't give it to me in a bottle because that was 25 years ago and I still use those skills to this day. So to me, cognitive sleep therapy, people don't even know cognitive sleep therapy exists. And it's literally somebody teaches you how to sleep. It's really cool.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. Good. What's the second thing to be focused on before you're hitting menopause?
You got to learn to manage stress. Like our lives are stressful. I live in Southern California. Just driving down the street is stressful here. Um, it's we have so much traffic and so much busyness going on, and especially our cost of living is very, very high here, and so there's a lot of work that has to happen in order to afford to live here. But with all of that said, um, we've got to learn stress management early on in life. And that's another thing. And I really think today it's even worse because young people have devices. So they don't have patience. They haven't learned patience. Like we used to have to go to a library and go through a card catalog to figure out where a book was. Now they go to Google or ChatGPT and find the answer in 9 seconds. So
But
they
it's
aren't
not
telling.
always right.
And
It's
it's
not always
rarely right, by
right.
the way. It's
Yeah.
rarely right. That's like, I always laugh. I always say Google's not an expert. ChatGPT is really not an expert. So it's rarely right. And they still use it. But yeah, so I think stress management is probably the second most important. I mean, stress is the leading cause of almost every disease, cancer, again, diabetes, again, dementias. It's sleep and stress related. And I know they go hand in hand, but stress is different than sleep because I know people that sleep like babies, but they're so on edge all day long. The reason why they sleep so well is they're flat out exhausted by the time they get home. So for me, stress management is always number two.
Yeah. Yeah, and then bringing that back into because I like to do this,
Yeah,
bring a
yeah.
little anthroposophic, because not a lot of people know about it,
No,
and
and I
so
think
I
it's
want to.
important to educate, like, my listeners are gonna be different than your listeners, and it's great
Yeah,
that they're educated on
absolutely.
these things.
Yeah. So, the what is the cause of your stress, right? Is your stress happening at the emotional level, or is it happening more in the thought level, like at the thoughts that you keep on cycling over and over in your mind? And where are the fears that are underlying that stress? Because ultimately, stress is about survival. And so, identifying those root causes will help you find solutions that are long lasting rather than, say, relying on putting on a meditation that will help you feel better for an hour, maybe. Maybe it'll have some lasting effects, especially if you're consistent in doing meditation. But you have to go beyond that. You have to kinda start digging to find the answers.
We
Yeah.
also need to dig into our generational trauma. So,
Mhm.
trauma is passed down generationally, and whether you believe that it's passed down by a spirit or if you feel that it's passed down by the way you are raised, it's still passed down generationally. And so if you don't understand your personal childhood trauma and then generational trauma, these are things that are going to be carried with you and you're going to pass them down to your daughters and sons. But I mean, I work with women's health, so I really talk about the disservice we do for our daughters by passing down our recognized personal trauma, childhood trauma, and generational trauma. And I always talk about it in terms of a bus. You're driving your bus of adulthood, but your child and the generations of those children before you are in the back seat of those buses. And every once in a while, something will pop up in your life, and your child will sit in the driver's seat and start driving. And you're like, that's not how I would normally react to that. That's your child reacting to that. And you got to tap her on the shoulder and say, hey, can you go take a seat in the back of the bus? I'm going to take you through this and I'm going to keep you safe. And
Mm,
people don't think of it that way because they actually don't want to look at that trauma. They don't want to look at generational trauma and they don't want to look at their own childhood trauma. And that is really going to fix a lot of what you're saying is like, is this the stress that I create or is this external stress?
mm, yeah, very good points. Yeah, and it's actually not so scary when you
Mm-mm.
approach it like, you can look to somebody to help guide you through it, or you can even approach it on your own with light methods such as journaling, and when you come across something that you can't seem to get beyond, then go look for help. Because it's totally worth it. And by the way, it is on all of those levels. It is on the spiritual level, it is on the behavioral level, and it is encoded in our epigenetics, in our DNA, and it's passed on at least 4 generations. And, if you go by the Native American wisdom, it's probably passed on 7 generations because that's how they planned, right? What
I
is
agree,
this
and I think in
decision?
Western culture,
Yeah.
I'm very Western, a little bit of Western, a little Eastern, but I think in Western culture, that this conversation scares people. They are this is too abstract for them, but I think the minute you start to research this and read about it and listen to podcasts about it, you will start to understand, I didn't know my mother had ever been raped. That wasn't something I actually had ever been known, but I knew it. I knew it in my womb that she had gone through this experience, and my great grandmother had had some very, very horrible experiences. And that wasn't anything I was taught. I didn't read it in a book. It wasn't in a journal, but I knew it on this level. And my dad didn't tell me about it till long after my mom passed away. And so
Wow.
it's very interesting that I always knew it. And she never,
Yeah.
my mother was very stoic. You would have never known anything ever happened to her. She didn't share anything personal. But it was definitely passed down. And so it's very, very interesting when you start to
Hmm.
dig deep in it. And don't be afraid to dig deep into this stuff, you guys. Don't be afraid to learn about previous generations and a lot of these philosophies because they do ring true.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, just you mentioning this example makes me realize that not only is it like things that we'll possibly never know about, um, there are things that you feel in your body and fears that you have that don't have necessarily an explanation. And it's going in there and processing them. Again, working with someone to help you process it. There's so many modalities, right? There's like somatic experiencing, there's, um, talk therapy for that'll work to some extent, energy healing, etc. Different strokes for different folks. Find what works for you and go with it because it will have incredible benefits long term.
But I think when you said journaling, I think this is really important to talk about the journaling piece of it, because journaling is, and it's pen to paper journaling. It's not typing
Mhm.
journaling. It's not dictating journaling. You got to put pen to paper. And if you can write with your opposite hand, I love like recommending that people try to journal with their non-dominant hand. It really helps as well. But there's something about writing and journaling that has a really profound effect on people, and it
Mhm.
really allows them, you'd be surprised, like, the first time you journal, you might write 2 words, and then all of a sudden, 3 days later, you complete 9 pages. All this has been pent up inside of you from generations before you. And so
Mhm.
I do love journaling, and I think it's probably the most accessible for everybody is a pen and paper journaling. And
Yep.
but again, coloring book. I have a lot of my clients that are struggling with weight loss. Like I say in my book, like GLP-1s I get to very, very, very far on in the
Yeah.
conversation about weight loss. But if I have people that are really struggling with weight loss, I have them get a coloring book and I have them start coloring every day. You would be amazed. Nothing else changed. All they did was start coloring. Sometimes I have them color with their non-dominant hand, and they start losing weight. I didn't change their diet. I didn't change their exercise. All I did was give them an outlet for the things that make them so uncomfortable. And I think that one thing we all need to understand is you need to be uncomfortable in order to change. So
Yes.
stop avoiding discomfort because it's the only way to change physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually is to feel discomfort. And we just don't like it.
Yep. Yep. Hallelujah. I mean, it is it is true. I mean, humans, so long as we're comfortable, we're not gonna change anything. Why change? It's all good, right? I mean,
But we
and
don't realize
that's
what we're passing down to the generations below us. And like, I don't have children, but I always say that your children are my children. The way I treat your children is the way, like, we all, especially little girls, like as women, we're the matriarchy. I keep saying this, but I'll
mm,
always keep coming back to it. Like, when I see somebody inappropriate with little girls, I'm stepping in. I don't care if it's my daughter or not. It's like your daughter will always be safe with me. And I think that that is something that's so important, even though I don't have children of my own. And so if I don't deal with my well, let's call it emotional baggage because people hate the word trauma, but if I don't deal with my baggage, I'm no good to all the little girls in the world, not
yeah,
just my own. And so it's
yeah,
really important that we feel this discomfort so we can become part of a society that actually is empathetic and compassionate that helps people.
yeah, yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next thing. I do want to touch on the development of insulin resistance because that is happening throughout this time. I think that part of what we're tracking is the silent development of insulin resistance and how we can get to that.
Yeah, I think the whole question about insulin resistance, I don't know if it's new. I think we didn't have a way to really effectively understand it or monitor it or track it.
Hmm.
Um, I remember being very, very young and eating a piece of bread and I would gain weight. I now know that's insulin resistance. I now know looking back at it, but I was 12 years old at the time. I just never ate. I also, if I ate sugar, like any kind of candy when I was young, I had really bad emotional, visceral reactions to everything. I was very heightened emotionally and not hyperactive, just emotionally reactive whenever I'd have
Hmm.
sugar. And so my mom and dad were pretty aware, and so I stopped eating those things when I was very, very young, and I also realized, like, I just can't eat this stuff. I don't like the person I am when I eat these things, and
Hmm.
that's how powerful food actually is over
Hmm.
us, but you are what you eat. Um, but I we are now able to track insulin resistance. We are now able to look at blood work. We are now able to really understand that people are insulin resistant. So I used to be a competitive fitness competitor and everybody would eat cheesecake the night before their show to make them look more pumped up. I would have to eat a ribeye steak. If I ate the cheesecake, I couldn't walk on stage because I'd have cellulite. It was like the craziest thing. That's insulin resistance. So we now know how to track it. And so we do have a lot more occurrences of insulin resistance, I think, than generations before us. But our food system is unbelievably compromised now. The bread I'm eating is not the bread my ancestors ate. The meat I'm eating is full of hormones. Our ancestors didn't eat that. And so I think that modern food systems are why we're starting to see things like a lot more occurrences of insulin resistance, a lot more occurrences of type 2 diabetes. And we're seeing a lot more occurrences of type 2 diabetes in non obese population. And that should
Yes.
terrify us all because I am seeing women my size with type 2 diabetes. Not, it used to just be obese women. And the fact that we have so many children with type 2 diabetes and not all of them are obese, we've got to start being, and it isn't just sugar. I mean, I'm anti sugar. I don't eat sugar. I don't like sugar. I think there's like, eat a piece of fruit, you're gonna be a lot happier. Eat broccoli, it's very tasty and sweet, like, I know people will laugh when I say that, but I don't think it's just sugar, and I don't think it's just the standard American diet. I think it's our food system, the way food is processed today is so unbelievably compromised, and now we know it through data. Unfortunately, we don't have the data from back then because there wasn't a way to track it
Hmm.
back then. And so I think that this is gonna be an evolution into the future, but it's gonna take us a very, very long time because we can't even track 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that's interesting that you mentioned about seeing insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes in non-obese people or not even overweight people. Um, I used one of these continuous glucose monitors a couple times in the past year just to see because I do have a family history of type 2 diabetes. And so I wanted to see, okay, where am I? And um, yeah, very sensitive to carbohydrates, pasta, woo, sky high. And so now I'm on a ketogenic diet actually. And
I've lived ketogenically for the last, 25 years, best thing I ever did.
okay, let's talk about that and how that changes the hormonal sensitivity of women.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important conversation. It's funny because a lot of my doctors will come to me and they'll be like, "I've had a patient on GLP-1s for the last 9 months and they can't lose weight." And I'll say, "Put them on a ketogenic diet and take them off a GLP-1." And the person is it like almost instantly is they lose weight almost instantly. So yes, I what people don't understand is that nutritional fat is also a source of energy. So we talk about like my dad is 93 years old. God bless him. He's still alive. He's still kicking. And his doctor says to me the other day, "You need to add sugar to his diet." My dad has an autoimmune disease. And they're like, "You need to add sugar to his diet. He needs more sugar." And I was like, "Absolutely not. He has an autoimmune disease. I'm not." "Well, he needs glucose." Believe me, the man gets plenty of glucose. So I find it funny where we get into these conversations about glucose versus this versus, first of all, fats are an energy source. So that's why ketogenic diets work so well. But also, ketogenic diets are incredibly neuroprotective. So neurotransmitters run through our body, and it's the communication center of our entire body. So I want you to think of your body is a community that you live in, and your electrical poles and the lines that go down the electrical poles are your neurotransmitters. That's your body. So if you don't have enough healthy fats in your diet, this is why when the fat-free craze of the 1980s happened, all these people lost weight, but they also became really foggy and they didn't function very well because there's myelin on the sheath of your neurotransmitter or your nervous system. And that myelin comes from nutritional fats. And once that becomes broken down, your body is no longer being neuroprotected. So I personally love a ketogenic diet, but for women in menopause, ketogenic diets are unbelievably effective because when you go into menopause, you have these weird food cravings. It's almost like being pregnant again. You're craving you're craving these things because your body is desperate for energy. It needs an energy source. So if you can actually not cave to the carbohydrates, the croissants and the sugars and my gosh, the frappuccinos and all of this, put all that aside and really for 21 days, it takes 21 days to create a habit.
Yeah.
For 21 days, eat protein, really good grass-fed, proper protein, your healthy fats from, again, grass-fed sources, coconut oil, things like that. We can get into the saturated fat conversation for another day. Just don't worry about it. Look it up. There's a lot of new science. And then vegetables and very, very, very minimal fruit. And I want a really, really super high fiber fruit. If you are going to have one and no more than half a serving a day, you will see that your body changes in those 21 days almost immediately. And it will reset all of this craziness that menopause has hit you with. I think ketogenic diets, I actually wrote a huge research paper on it in college, and I think that they are a long lost tool and they're not done correctly. Atkins diet is actually not a ketogenic diet.
Right.
It's not real. You've got to go back to Doug Duquesne's original research on ketogenic diets, and they are absolutely brilliant and they help on so many different levels, but specifically hormonal levels because your neurotransmitters are telling your body how to produce hormones. And this is why it's so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll just share a little bit about my experience. I had a regulation again of having cycles again, actually. It unleashes hormones that are actually stored in the fat because hormones are fat soluble, and so they're stored in your fat cells. And when you start digesting all of that fat, or not digesting it, but yeah, kind of, you're
Yeah,
using
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
for energy, then the hormones get released, including vitamin D that gets stored in your fat cells. And you think that you're vitamin D deficient, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, you have vitamin D. It was just stored away. So
Well, and that's
we
why we
get,
always tell people when you get your blood work to go get your free testosterone. Testosterone
Mhm.
is bound, especially in women. This is exactly what you're saying. And then we have you do your blood work and you've got virtually no free testosterone, but you've got plenty of whole testosterone. It's because it's bound. And the
Mhm.
ketogenic diet, you're absolutely right. It unbinds it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. So I'm glad that you agree with it, and that you've
Yeah,
been
I
living it
love
for
it.
25 years. That's awesome. I've been recently reading up on the literature of how it's neuroprotective, and I'm like, okay, this is my new lifestyle. Like, why would I go back to poisoning myself with sugar? Um, it's it is kind of a poison, sadly. I know
I
we
mean,
love our
and
sweets,
alcohol is a
but
poison. I
well,
talk about
yeah.
alcohol and sugar pretty frequently. I also talk about pharmaceutical drugs pretty frequently, but I'm going to put that aside. But these are things we can control, right? So how much sugar we intake and how much alcohol we can take. Alcohol is literally a poison. That's why the first time you overdrink, you vomit profusely because your body's trying to get rid of this poison. But the one thing about the human body that people don't want to recognize or don't understand is that your body will survive at all costs in the
Yeah.
shit circumstance that you put it in. So that's why people don't die of starvation because the body adapts. So why people don't die of being alcoholics. I mean, they do eventually, but they don't for a very, very, very long time because the body adapts. Your body adapts to sugar. It adapts to these things. Just because your body is adapting doesn't mean it's thriving. And so the reason why you feel so crummy is because your body's not thriving anymore. So stop looking at adaptation and start looking at what you need to do in order to thrive.
Yep, because we want to live long, but live healthily long. We want to be able to enjoy our bodies, and not be constantly going to the doctor's office, filling up prescriptions, and yeah, relying on all sorts of devices to make our lives possible.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
it is.
technology is really cool today. Like we've got a lot of red light therapy and cryotherapy and shockwave, and I mean, like a lot of these things that we all have access to now, which we didn't have access to before. But we shouldn't be relying on those. Like I always tell people, the most important things are fruits, vegetables, legumes, and proteins and fats, healthy fats, and then walking. Just walk. The human body was designed to walk. So your back hurts, go for a walk. Your hip hurts, go for a walk. They'll say, well, that makes my hip hurt more. No, it doesn't. Not if you do it consistently. It's sitting that makes us so in pain all the time. We do way
Mhm.
too much sitting, all of us, including me, all of us.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're in a bad mood, go for a walk. You'll
Go for a
feel a
walk.
lot better
By the way,
afterwards.
go for a walk in the sun. I was saying earlier, my dad is 93
Yeah.
and I've been yelling at him. He sleeps all day and all night and it makes me crazy. Well, the reason he sleeps all day is his house is very, very dark. His body doesn't even know it's daytime out. And so I'm like, Dad, go for a walk outside, please. And he's like, oh, I don't like using a walker in front of people. It draws too much attention. I'm like, Dad, go for a walk. You're fine. Like you need some vitamin D.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah, what's your next going along this evolution of what we can do holistically to maintain metabolic health and a healthy weight, etc. What's your next recommendation?
Hydration, water, 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 water. And I do people talk to me about like, do I need ionized water? Do I need the First of all, my clients are not even drinking 4 glasses of water a day. So let's not make it complicated. Let's like just get a bottle. Like I want you to drink 4 times more water tomorrow than you did today. Like we got to get you up to 3 liters. 3 liters of plain water per day. Nothing in it. Doesn't include your coffee, your tea, your soup. Plain water. 3 liters per day. I I think that's probably the hardest thing for me to get people to do, and partially because they're so busy, they don't wanna use a restroom, partially because they're always in a car and they don't wanna have to stop to go to the bathroom, but you've gotta get 3 liters down, and you will wake up multiple times at night to go to the restroom if you don't drink it early enough in your day. So my hack for that is habit stacking. If you're going to take your vitamins or your supplements first thing in the morning, drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning and that at least gets some of your water down you. And then always keep, I mean, you guys in your Stanley cups, people love their Stanley cups more than anything. I just don't even understand it. They don't even have proper tops on them. You knock it over and half the stuff spills out of them. But anyway, if you love your pink Stanley cup, please get it and fill it with water, not iced tea or anything else, and bring it with you and drink it. And 3 of those is about 3 liters per day. So, of the big ones. So, get your water down, please.
Yeah. Well, speaking of water, though, and we did touch on the ketogenic diet, there is a risk of not having enough sodium when you're in the ketogenic diet. And so, actually, my habit is to add electrolytes to my water. Sometimes I even add some salt to my water, especially if I've been exercising or sweating a lot that day. Otherwise, I feel flat, like I can't get up off the couch.
Yeah, and I do think that there are some great electrolyte products out there. The problem is identifying which ones are good and which ones are not good. And that's so the thing is about the really good electrolyte products, they taste salty. And
Yeah,
so like
that's
people don't
okay.
like that.
But it's okay.
I know. I Strange
We
to me.
came from the ocean, we came from the salt water, like, this is
And I put like Himalayan sea salt into my water and I do that too. But people are like, "Oh, that tastes awful." People are so taste oriented. I'm not. Like I can eat a dinner that's tasteless and I just don't care. Like
Mm,
that's fuel for me, right? And so
right.
I'm not really driven that way, but you have to remember, we all have to remember that our bodies are so addicted to sugar and sweet and that has this effect on our serotonin receptors that something like salt is exactly the opposite of that. And so it's almost repulsive to people because they're so uh,
Mm,
overwhelmed by the amount of sugar in their diet, and sugar is insidious, it's in everything.
yeah. Well, I mean, we gotta get rid of the sugar, but There's always a little squeeze of some lemon juice to put into the water to make it a little bit more palatable
I also
without
use
sugar.
cucumber and diffuse it in the fridge. I do a lot. I do
Cucumber,
do a lot of it.
yeah, yeah, these things, just to help people with the whole concept of drinking water, because I do have a partner who hates plain water, and it's always a struggle to, like, "Let's figure out how to get you more water."
But the thing is too, different bottled waters taste differently. Like, so I think you've got to like, if some people think all water's the same. I mean, it's really not at this point. So you got to find what you like and what you don't like. My dad hates drinking water, but he'll drink one brand. It's fine. That's all I get is that brand. And
Mm,
so that's what's in the house for him. And so I think that that helps too. But you look, I know people are busy and they say, "Oh, I'm too busy to do that." That's a little bit of an excuse. Like you can try different types of water and see which one you like. So you're not too busy to do that. You just,
right,
well, I'm too busy to go to the grocery store and think about that. Then write it down. Like it's get it on Amazon, have it delivered on Instacart if you have to. But we got to find a way to get healthier. But again, that's that feeling discomfort that people don't like.
right. Or get a really, high NSF grade, water filter for your home so that you have water ready to go anytime and you don't have to rely on something that's bottled in plastic.
Agreed, agreed. And I really try not to drink in plastic anymore. We can
Yeah.
get all into that conversation, but I really try to drink out of glass now. We don't have microwaves in our house anymore. We really
Yeah.
try to go that route. But
Yeah.
and it's not easy. It's not easy. But look, I can boil pasta. I can boil water on the stove just as fast as I can microwave water. So
Yeah.
I haven't needed a microwave. I haven't had a microwave in 25 years either.
Okay. It took me moving to Europe to get rid of microwave. I was like, they basically don't sell them here. And I was like, well, why don't you sell microwaves? And then, I read all about the problems with microwaves. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't want a microwave anymore.
Yeah. I had a really, really good girlfriend that was holistic, and she had gotten rid of her microwave, and it really improved her health. I was shocked. She had a lot of autoimmune problems. She got rid of
Uh-huh.
her microwave, and almost all her autoimmune problems went away. And I was like, that's crazy. It took a long time, but it was the biggest change that she made. I got rid of
Hmm.
my microwave, and I was like, okay, good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes right to what it does to water, right? It completely changes the vibration of water, the structure of water, and then it's no longer as nourishing to the
Yes,
body and
100%.
sexually damaging. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, cool. Any last recommendations that you want to share with the audience?
So, my biggest recommendation for everybody on the planet, male, female, whatever it is, it's not too late. You are never too old to change. I know it's harder to change the older we get, but whether you are 60, 70, 80, 90, it is never too late to change your nutrition. Never too late to start drinking water. It's never
Mhm.
too late to move. I don't talk about exercise very much with my clients. I talk about movement because if you've never walked into a gym a day in your life and never exercised, exercise is scary to you, but it's never too late to walk outside. And then walking turns into walking with a backpack with some books in it. And then walking turns into walking with little hand weights. And then walking might turn into grabbing those hand weights and watching a YouTube video. So it's never too late to start moving. It's never too late to work on your sleep, and it's never too late to manage your stress. And so it doesn't matter how old you are, please, please, please start looking at your longevity and healthy habits because we want to grow old gracefully.
Yes. That was the word I was looking for. You got it gracefully.
Mhm. We don't want to be in a home and not be able to get out of the bed. We want to be the lady in the home that's like Julie, the cruise director, that's like everybody's friend. That's what we want when we're in the home.
Exactly. I still want to be hiking up the hills here and mountains, the Alps. I live in Switzerland. And until I die, really.
Me too. Me too. I want
It's
to be
like,
able to go to the beach until the day I die.
yeah. So wonderful to have you on. Tell us a little bit more about, yeah, your book and how people can connect with you.
Yes. So my name is Sharon Polsky, Polsky. My Instagram is at Sharon Polsky. My book is called Weight Loss Decoded: Unlocking the Truth About GLP Weight Loss Medications. I would have written this book whether GLP-1s became popular or not. So there's a lot of great things in here, but my most favorite thing in here is that it has a full recipe book in the back of it. And it has breakfast, lunch, dinner, vegan, smoothie, and dessert recipes. And they are not diet recipes. They are family, fun, appropriate for everybody recipes. So even if you just buy it for that, that's a great way. And it is available on Amazon and Audible and Kindle. And I narrate my own book, which was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I thought I'd be really great at it. And I was really terrible at it. And it took 92 takes, but I did get it done. And so it is available on Audible. And my podcast is called Weight Loss Decoded. And we are headed into season 2.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sharon, and thanks to the audience. And if you'd like this content, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe to the channel so that the algorithm can do its beautiful thing of sharing the information to a wider audience. All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks, Elizabeth.